Nah, gelap ya? Pak Ridho yang
Pak Ridho offline.
Hello, good afternoon.
Miss Hazel,
Halo Pak Juli.
how are you? Oh, hilang.
Sini nggak ada suaranya.
I am okay, but ada infusan
Oke.
Pak.
Udah kan udah di mute apa enggak mute?
Udah nggak mute loh Pak.
How are you,
Very
Pak
nice.
Juli?
Nice day, Hazel. Miss Hussein. Misran is already you examined.
Hello.
Hello,
Yep.
Miss Hussein. Nice to meet
Hi.
you today. Thank you very
How
much.
are you?
Fine. And thank you very much. You will join with me to examiner to Misran.
It's both my honor and pleasure to be included in as one of the panel members.
Yeah. Sementara di sini saya mau.
Halo, Mam Hazel. Halo, Mam Hazel.
Good morning,
Halo.
Mr. Tunjung.
Halo Pak Tunjung. Apa kabar Pak?
Cek.
Pak Tunjung. Halo Pak Tunjung.
Halo. Pak
Oke.
Juli. Halo Hazel.
Halo Pak.
Cek. Tes.
Is my audio okay? Can I be heard clearly?
Yes, clearly, crystal clear. Hazel.
Voice from I am Misran. It's okay, Pak Tunjung.
Your voice echoing, Pak Zuli.
Okay. Yeah.
Echoing, yeah. So we cannot clearly hear your voice. Maybe you have to change your laptop
Yeah.
and buy the better one.
I have to prepare at the laptop.
Yeah. Yes, a vice director should have a better laptop, you know.
Yeah, the most
Vice
expensive
director,
laptop.
vice director,
That's right.
all,
That's right. That's
all the
right.
job.
Kok nggak bisa?
Tes 1 2. Oke, bisa kan?
Tapi suaranya tuh kalau enggak gini ya.
Tes 1 2. Tes. Tes 1 2. Tes. Tes 1 2.
Masuk. Atau Mister aja dari sini lah ngomongnya udah salah satu aja.
Suaranya
Salah satu
masuk.
aja nanti gantian kan saya 1 menit gitu. Kamu muncul di situ, habis itu kan saya kan ngomong nanti kamu pindah di sini saya pergi. Itu aja kan saya mau buka dulu. Nah, habis buka satu aja yang kamu pilih kamu aja. Itu aja. Nah, dua nanti mau. Nanti saya ngomong dari situ, kamu kasih.
Tes 1 2.
Nah, itu gimana?
Hah? Gimana? Full.
Coba.
Ini masuk nggak suara saya? Tes 1 2. Tes.
Coba kedengaran.
Pak Tunjung kedengaran nggak suara saya?
Dengar. Yang nggak kelihatan kamu.
Oh iya Pak, ini masih memperbaiki ya ininya Pak. Maaf ya Pak.
Nah, sudah sekarang.
Kalau enggak ini saya matikan semua, cuma videonya saya hidupkan. Iya.
Lagi Pak.
Pak Tunjung,
Yeah, siap.
Pak Ridho ini belum datang.
Oh
Dalam
ya,
waktu 5 menit katanya.
yeah.
Saya tak tanya hasil sama Ucil ya, Miss Busen. Jadi kalau beliau berdua bisa, maka ya kita mulai sambil nunggu Pak Ridho gitu ya.
Oke, siap.
Ya, Miss Hazel,
Ya,
you ready to start exam Misran? And
ya, no problem.
okay. Yeah. With Pak Ridho, 5 minutes coming to MIP. I think start ya, start dulu presentation Misran and Tesis. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Pak Tunjo, Ms. Hazel, Tesis. Now to exam Misran. Tesis, the topic on political philanthropy, Partai Keadilan Sejahtera in Indonesia since pandemic COVID in Indonesia. I think this is the topic for Misran, very interesting and contextual in Indonesia and other country because it's pandemic COVID, global issues, I think. And Indonesia, especially Partai Keadilan Sejahtera, we call Islamic Party because Partai Keadilan Sejahtera based on founded in Islam, like Partai Persatuan Pembangunan and Partai Bulan Bintang. The three party in Indonesia based on Islam in the fundament. And the Misran is study on Partai Keadilan Sejahtera on the topic philanthropic Islam, philanthropic political party. I want Misran to present thesis. I think 15 minutes. Yeah? 15 minutes. So Misran presentation. The background on study, methodology, theoretical framework, and the result on study. Misran is okay? 15 minutes, yeah?
Yes.
15 minutes.
Okay.
Only 15 minutes. No more. Yeah, more 1 minute. 16 minutes. Okay. Please, Misran, you presented your thesis.
Okay. Before I present my thesis, can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much for Dr. Sulikodir as give me to attempt to present my proposal thesis. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining my thesis defense. The Honorable Bapak Dr. Tunjun Sulaksono as my examiner. The Honorable Mam Hazel Yuvita as my examiner. And the Honorable Mam Yusil as my examiner. And the Honorable Dr. Sulikodir as my supervisor. And also, oh yes, ma'am. Okay, go on. At first, let me introduce myself. My name is Misran. In this great opportunity, I would like to present my thesis or my research with the title Prosperous Justice Party, Political Philanthropy during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. But before I present, can you see my slide? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. The first I will explain the background of my research. The study aims to analyze the Prosperous Justice Party or PKS political philanthropy during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. In this research has three problems. The first problem is in 2020 and 2021, the world has been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, including Indonesia. The second problem is Indonesia is one of the many countries experience shocks in the economic sector due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the third problem is the pandemic not only has an impact on health economy, but also has an impact on poverty and increased unemployment, social inequality, and paralyzed the production and consumption sector of society, and etc. From the phenomena in this study are the various philanthropic movements that emerged during the pandemic from social institutions, NGO, Islamic organization, and political parties. The government's limitation in dealing with the pandemic required synergistic cooperation from the government, the private sector, and the community and political parties. Okay, based on the description, it is necessary to study several important issues related to the philanthropy of the PKS party during the COVID-19 pandemic in assisting the government in restoring the economic and elevating property. The fundamental consideration of this research is focused on PKS as one of Indonesian political parties with a persistent intensity in initiation social generosity activities with a more institutional design and network in managing social generosity activities. Next is research question. The first is, how does the ideology of the PKS party motivate cadres in its philanthropic movement to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia? The second is, what is the form of philanthropy in the PKS party? And the last is, how are the narratives and political implications of the PKS attention in practicing its philanthropic reasoning in electoral political interest? Next, research objectives and research benefits. The first research objective. Based on the research formulation, the study aims to determine the political philanthropy of the PKS during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. And then chapter 2, literature review. In this literature review, I use three parts. The first is political-based philanthropy. The second is organization-based philanthropic and environment-based philanthropic. And then theoretical framework. In this study, I use for theory. The first is an integrated theory of party goals and party chains by Robert Harmel and Kenneth Janda. And then the second is Islamic parties. Is theory from Lily Romley with the title Islamic Party and Islamic Voters in Indonesia. And then the third theory is the ideology of the Islamic Party from Rido Alhamdi in his book entitled Election Threshold: The Battle of Political Parties and the Fading of Ideology in Indonesia. And then the last theory is philanthropy from Robert L. Fayton and Michael Femudi with the title of book is Understanding Philanthropic, Its Meaning and Missions. Next is research framework. The first is organization-based philanthropy, including vision of justice, religious-based social activism, empowerment of Muslims, social service, and the last, the existence of mass organization. And then political-based philanthropy, including constituent sympathetic, ideological, clientelism, Islamization, and political support. And the last, empowerment-based philanthropic, including improving social economic, improving community welfare, community empowerment program, and framing of the spirit of unity. And then conceptual definition. An integrated theory of party goals and party change in the thinking of Strong, Desauer, Penebianco, and Robert Harmel and Kenneth Janda. They are for possible treatments of the main goals for political parties. By allowing multiple goals, some seemingly rational actions taken by parties or factions within the party arise when observers assume that parties are pursuing only one goal of winning votes, or that all parties are pursuing election as an objective they are primary. And then Islamic political party. An Islamic political party is an organization of people who make Islam the basis of their struggle to channel Muslim ideas and aspirations and ideas in a country. Even some parties make Islam the principle of the pledge party. And then Islamic party ideology. An Islamic political party uses Islam as its ideological basis. Furthermore, parties are seen from their cultural base. Political parties are seen as organizations and means of media for the community or groups in society to articulate the express. And then philanthropic. The politics of philanthropy is an humanitarian-based charity activity carried out by civil society groups and philanthropic institutions in an organized, systematic, long-term manner with a vision of welfare and social justice for the community and aims to provide service and assistance or advocacy for the district to be independent. And then operational definition. In this research has three variables. The first is because party philanthropic movement, which indicator is ideology and interest. And the second variable is from PKS party philanthropic. And the last is narrative and political implication PKS party philanthropy. Next is research methodology. The first is type of research. This research is use qualitative research. And then research area. Research area in Sumatra, Java, Borneo, and South Sulawesi. And then data classification. The first is primary data. We can see the informant and organization and also institution. And then secondary data, we can see online media and the number of news and news link. And then the collecting process. The first is interview and then capture. Okay, welcome, Pak Rido. Okay, go on. And then okay, and then data analyze process, gathering primary and secondary data collection, analyzing data, and data visualization. And then research data analyze. In this research, I use two tools. The first is in vivo, and then viewer. In vivo that I use to cross-type query and cluster analysis, and also viewer network visualization, overlay visualization, and density visualization. Okay, now finding and discussion. The Vikas ideology and its philanthropic movement during the COVID-19 pandemic. James Andreoni explained that the motivation for charity activity is for the sake of future generation of humanity, because philanthropic activities during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. According to James Andreoni perspective, of course, have similarities and difference. The movements aims to each reach justice and welfare. Still, on the other hand, PKS has different elements in philanthropic. This element is called the political element philanthropic, as political movement means that the power from social work practice activities will be utilized for specific interests. And then the form of PKS party philanthropic during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. In identifying PKS philanthropic activity during the COVID-19 pandemic, the author used the theory of Phaeton and Robert Phaeton and Moody theory in understanding philanthropic its meaning and mission. Furthermore, as analytical tools of the PKS philanthropy firm, the author implement an approach by Baker. And then we can see the firm of PKS party. And then the last is the narrative and political implication of the PKS in practicing it is philanthropic reasoning in electoral political interest. Based on the previous explanation of the PKS political philanthropy activity during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, the author will explain the narrative and political implication of the party of tension to practicing philanthropic reasoning in electoral political interest by using theory of Robert Harmon and Kenneth Janda. We can see the present the response of informant. Okay, the last conclusion. Okay, from the background and the funding and discussion, this research talking about the philanthropic, the first of philanthropic, giving advocacy environment, and then the budget and etc. The last is the philanthropic narrative in political parties is political in a broad sense, whether used to gain voters or as a vote gathered to build, expand, and maintain constituents or to how political attention and care. The meaning of philanthropy is often strongly identified with artificial and symbolic rather than showing the subject of sustainable welfare initiative because only a few parties have success in building philanthropic institution very professional, which is also one of the issue that the professionalization of the philanthropic movement requires proper demarcation. It is clear which one are political or ideological for the public to trust the institution. These three narratives have implications for the PKS party regarding electoral political interests, such as winning election, advocating interests, gaining executive power, and implementing party democracy. This funding is supported by Robert Harmel and Kenneth Janda, who is in their research look at the goals of the party and the change of the party. Okay, I think that's all my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Misran. The presentation for Misran have relation political party, philanthropy, and political activity like election or electoral. I invite Ms. Hazel. Okay, Ms. Hazel, please your comment or your ask to Misran to Tesis, and you
All
suggest
right.
where
Okay.
revise and so on. Please, Ms. Hazel.
Thank you so much, Pak Zuli. And yeah, we are very happy to be sitting here and reading the manuscript of Misran. Indeed, this is a very interesting project, very timely as well, because it speaks about our response to COVID-19 in the context of Indonesia and the specific political party. Now, I read through the paper and I believe all the data are present. And with that, I believe Ms. Ran deserves a commendation for coming up with a paper like this. Although there are points to improve, and my questions this afternoon will anchor primarily on the research questions. So in the presentation, we begin with how does the ideology of the PKS party motivate cadres in its philanthropic movement to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. Now, because in writing, Mas Misran, I believe there has to have correspondence, right? So the presentation of our methodology, actually the presentation of our literature review, methodology, findings, and discussion should be aligned with our research questions.
Okay.
Now, this is very challenging because this needs streamlining of data, right? But that's okay. Streamlining is a little bit easier. compared to not having data at all. So it's easy to rearrange data later on than not having data at all. Now, speaking of research question number 1, my question is, what is the ideology of PKS party?
Yes, Misran, so you respond from Ms. Hazel. What is ideology from PKS party?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. I will answer. I think that the ideological PKS party is Islamic party.
Mhm.
Yes.
Now, is it possible that in the discussion we start with PKS party's ideology and Islamic party, and then the discussion would revolve around how PKS adapts Islamic principles in its operation as a political party?
Okay.
Because, for example, this research question should be directly answered in the opening part of the findings and discussion. Okay, so again, streamlining of the data, and then if possible, try to answer each research question directly in the presentation of discussion in the paper. Would you like me to show the screen? Do you think that would help, or no need at all?
Tunjukkan di dalam screen.
Okay, here. So this is good actually. 5.1 PKS ideology. Again, we start with defining ideology of PKS party. Because reading through the paper, reading through 5.1, if we read through the entire page, the discussion focuses on philanthropic movement. Do you agree with me? So here you see PKS philanthropic activities. There is no definition or mention of the PKS ideology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Mas, yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us talk about PKS ideology for a little bit. And then how does that ideology converts now into its philanthropic movement? It's easy actually. You just cite principles in Islam or in Quran, blah, 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 blah. So you can just do that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now in the paper as well, you made mention about sympathizers. Am I correct? That there is a growing number of sympathizers for PKS political party. And with a growing number of sympathizers, there is a stronger trust of the public to the political party. Am I correct?
Yes.
Now, Mas, is it okay if we just put a little bit of explanation? What are the efforts of the PKS party to gain more sympathy? Is there a specific campaign established by or launched or organized by the PKS political party to gain more sympathizers?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I think that will be for, yeah, another one for research question number 1. There is a mention of, actually this is in chapter 4. What is the structural and functional designs of PKS? Because towards the end of chapter 4, you made mention that there is structural and functional designs of the PKS political party at the national level. But these designs are weak at the local level. I think that is towards the end of chapter 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on page 55 before network. The last paragraph in
Oh yeah.
4.1.3.
Yeah, ma'am.
As a modern party, PKS has developed a systematic party structure.
Yeah.
Okay, now my question is it possible that we present in the manuscript the structural and functional designs of the PKS party at the national level and show also
Oh,
its
yeah.
design at the local level. Because Mas, if you see the logic here, it's very interesting to explore how the weak structures at the local level gain more support. Or is it really?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I believe you know the answer. But what do you think is the reason why they do have low or weak structure at the local level, but still they get more sympathizers? Do you have some answers to that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I will repeat your suggestion. Yes, I get your point.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Because here in 4.1, however, an established management structure has only occurred in urban areas while still weak in rural areas. See, weak in rural areas, but still they have more support. They have more sympathizers. So it's like there is no connection between having more support but weak structure at the rural area.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so I think that will be all for research question number 1. For research question number 2, what is the form of philanthropy in the PKS party? I believe this part has been substantially discussed in chapter 5, and I don't have any other questions for research question number 2. For research question number 3, I have some questions. First, maybe I just missed in the manuscript, but Miss Misran, can you please explain to me what is narrative implication and what is political implication?
Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your question. I think that the narrative, uh, the narrative, the narrative and political implication of the PKS party in practicing its philanthropic reasoning in electoral political party interests that from the theory of Baker assume that one contributor choice depend on contribution of all others largely because of the public good aspect quality. So um, this model is related to the philanthropic form of the PKS party as contributor depending on community contribution. For example, the PKS party distributes it in the form of material and morals in areas where their writing include variables to capture the independence of preference. And then uh, this model or the narrative has General Baker approach to incorporating altruistic motives that are not pure to give, such as desire for price, status, or simply the form like or giving. And also, as a friend by Rido Alhamdi, now as my examiner said that one of the goals of political parties, both
It's
faith-based,
Mas
yes,
Misran.
yeah,
I think I understand your point.
yes,
Actually, this research question is discussed in the paper. My only concern right now is that the phrase narratives and political implication is not clear to me. What does it really mean? Um, Actually, your discussion focused on electoral political interests. You know, that is an implication.
okay,
Because to me, for example, I am in page 66 right now, 5.3, narratives and political implications of the PKS in practicing its philanthropic reasoning in electoral political interests. Now, what makes me bingo is that electoral political interest is a political implication of PKS philanthropic activities.
okay,
You see? So I mean, what I'm trying to point out here is it possible that we edit and we simplify research question number 3 and just put it there what are the narratives and political implications of the philanthropy of PKS party? We simplify research question number 3 because again, electoral political interest for me, as I read the paper, is a political implication of the philanthropic activities conducted by the PKS party. Yeah. Here, you can see figure 15, narratives and political implications of the philanthropy of the PKS party. So we can have it as simple as that. And then we focus now on, we define what do we mean by narratives and political implications.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The shorter the better. The shorter the research question, the better. But it's still the same thing. It's just that if it's shorter, it's easier to understand, and it's easier also to explain in the discussion.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, for a revision, is it okay now that in page 66, after the first paragraph, based on the previous explanation of the PKS political philanthropy activities during the COVID-19 pandemic, the author will explain the narrative and political implications of the party's attention. Next paragraph should be, narratives and political implications are defined by or refers to. Okay, so explain to the reader what do we mean by narrative implication? What is
Okay.
political implication? Satu-satu ya.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, because there's no such thing as narrative and political. So what is narrative implication? What is political implication? Okay, is that
Yes, ma'am.
possible?
Yes.
Or do you have some answers right now that you would like to share?
No, ma'am. I will repeat my yes.
Okay. Now, Mas, look at page 66, figure 16. PKS party practicing their philanthropic reasoning in electoral political interest. So, according to Janda in 1994, Ahmed and Janda in 1994, these are the political implications of philanthropic reasoning. It's all about electoral political interest. Now, and it can be cascaded according to the different indicators. So, winning election, advocating interest, these are political implications of philanthropic activities. Now, where is the narrative implication?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Any comment, Hazel? And or any question from Misran? Or Misran? Only question.
Well, that's the question. And then, sir, maybe one question for methodology. For methodology, table 5, list of interviewees. There are more than 15 interviews, less than 15 interviewees from 3 different organizations. So we have from Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, and PKS. My question, this is the last question actually, why is it that in the discussion, chapter 4 and chapter 5, there is no mention of Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama's answers? The discussions are focused on the PKS party. Even if in the methodology, you did interview people from Muhammadiyah and NU.
Okay. Oh yeah, ma'am. Okay, we can see the response of that interview in the page 66. The narrative and political implication. We can see the response from Dr. Filrido Alhamdi as from Muhammadiyah. Yes. And also we can see
do we have an answer or an interview from NU as
Yes,
part
yes,
of the discussion.
brother. Bukan. Ma'am. Ada. Hmm. Gimana ya?
Now, it's okay, Mas. You can just add later, or at least if you
Yes,
know
ma'am.
that you already put there in the paper, then that will be enough. I think those are the only points of clarification on my part. Nevertheless, the paper has sufficient data, and it needs further editing, if that is okay with Mas Misran. But
Yes, ma'am.
I highly suggest that when you write the article for publication, that needs to make everything streamlined. Everything should be easy to read and smooth sailing. So the real challenge is to package the entire data, the big data into 7,000 or 8,000 words. But definitely the data is complete, and I believe the paper is worth to grant a degree for Mas Misran. Congratulations, Mas Misran and Pak Zuli. Good work.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Denzel. You comment and you action from Misran. But I think it's very important comment and question from Misran. I think Misran to revise that any chapter, yeah, the chapter on the paragraphs, and then to combine data from Nahdlatul Ulama Muhammadiyah. I think it's very good comment. Matur nuwun, thank you, Hazel. And then I invite Miss Hussein. Hussein, please your question or comment to Tesis Misran. Please, Miss Hussein.
All right. Good afternoon. Again, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Julie and Professor Tonjong and also Mas Misran for giving me this opportunity to be part of this paper. No, I would say this is a highly commendable paper because very how would I say it? Relatable in the sense that here in the Philippines, no, although the we call this parties are not really associated to somewhat religious, but what is being unique here in the Philippines is that some politicians would directly use the religion. As a matter of fact, the politicians would directly contact the religious head, no, to support their to help them advance their political interest. But in Indonesia, no, they at least, no, they go through or they make use of parties, no. But in the Philippines, of course, that's prohibited because we have that separation of church and state. Again, I would like to congratulate Misran for coming this far, no, for this timely paper. Now, I actually have few comments on the paper, and I would like to point out on the research questions. No, first in research question number 2, because I might miss some points, no, but I would just like to clarify this because of a little confusion on this. Now, on the research question number 2, you ask for, it's in page 7, I think, no? So that's, yeah, what is the form of philanthropy in the PKS party, sorry, PKS party. When obviously, it's in the title itself. I suppose you're trying to establish, the PKS party's motive or a philanthropy is really political, no? So maybe you're referring to the forms of philanthropy so that you'll be able to establish, in your discussion that the PKS party, they are using philanthropic politics, of which that's my next question. How do you define philanthropic politics? Mr. Misran, can you please enlighten me on this? Because I actually have the same concern with Ma'am Hazel, because you mentioned about ideology, but in the paper, there was no clear mention on what is really the ideology of the PKS party, no? And so with that, going back to my question, why ask the form of philanthropy when obviously it's political, no? So I think it's just a matter of this is just my suggestion to remove in the title the word political, so that the readers will be the one to find out, on the forms of philanthropies that is being advocated, by the PKS party, because it's there, it's being laid down in chapter 4.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
also, yeah. So again, I would like to ask, how do you define philanthropic politics, Ms. Misran? If you can enlighten me on that.
Okay. Thank you very.
Related theology.
Okay, thank you very much for question. I will define the ideology or the form of political philanthropy by Prosperous Justice Party. The first is given given association, and then given association, service and advocacy. So I define that this is the form of political philanthropy by Prosperous Justice Party.
Mhm. And so, may I suggest that should be defined operationally, no? So in chapter
Yes,
2, I think, no? Yeah. So that
yes.
it will be clear for the readers, no? What does philanthropic politics mean? All right. Now, yeah, I also have I want to clarify also research question number 3. I agree with Ma'am Hazel that you actually have the data, but it's just a matter of rephrasing the question so that it will align, to the actual data that you have, no. So just a matter of streamlining. So with that, because in your research question number 3, you are asking for these narratives, and this was already asked by Ma'am Hazel, no, because I was quite confused on how it is being phrased, no, the question is being praised. Now, if I got it right, no, as I've said, I don't have the luxury of time of reading all through the paper, no, thoroughly because of the short notice, but maybe you are trying to, because based on the data that you presented, you're trying to establish on how did the PKS party, philanthropic politics influence the political interest of the electorate, if I got it right. What is their extent of influence? That's why you're mentioning about the narratives, the political implication, because when you talk about political implication, this you're actually referring to the influence of the PKS party, based on their philanthropic activities, on how they shape the political interest of their maybe beneficiaries or the followers of the party itself, the members of the party itself. Yeah, that's how I understood, the third
Mhm.
question. Am I right, or did I get it right? If you're trying to ask the extent of influence of the PKS party to the political interest, now based on their philanthropic politics. So on the influence to the political interest of the electorate. So when we say electorate, that's quite broad. So I'm not so sure on how do you define electorate, no, in your own context, no, in Indonesia. But that's what I get, no, sa inyo, in your statement, no, in for research number 3. Again, may I suggest that you please rephrase this question, state it simply and clearly, so that it would align to the actual data that you have. It's just a matter of rephrasing the question, emphasizing the extent of influence of the PKS party to the political interest of the people, or maybe to the members or to the beneficiaries, not the recipients of the services that are being offered by the PKS party. All right, now I would like to go directly on your data collecting process. No, that's in chapter on the methodology part. Because although you mentioned, you had a thorough discussion on how you are going to collect the data, but I suggest there's a need to improve that part there, wherein you need to specify on how did you go about the data gathering process. So what is really your research methodology for that? Because although there's a mention, there are many definitions and mention on the research instruments, but there was no clear discussions on the research instrument that are being used to a particular data that are to be treated. It's Misran, I think it's just a matter of clarifying things, explaining thoroughly, not thoroughly, briefly, but directly, the data collecting process in general. Because I agree with Ma'am Hazel, as I read through your paper, you mentioned interview, and therefore you have your key informants, I suppose, no? But you did not specify in your paper how many of them. That's why, Ma'am Hazel, actually, I have the same concern. I find it quite biased when you already highlighted two interviews or two informants, when later, if you're going to read the paper, you actually have many key informants. So with that, to avoid confusion, by the reader, I think there's really a need for us to describe, who are these key informants and how did you choose them, so that we avoid no biases. All right, and then so really have to specify those, so that we can do away with those somewhat unnecessary inputs that we have there, so that it would be easier for you to to compress your paper into a journal, considerable for publication. So there's just a little confusion on your research data analysis and the data collecting process. So please specify those in chapter in the research methodology part. And then okay, thank you. And then figure 12. Let me check. Page 59. Figure 12, page 59. I'm sorry, I still need to scroll down because I forgot why did I note this. Page 59, figure 12, page 59. I think figure okay, this is just very minimal, but I did note this because although it's very minimal, but this may lead to confusion of your readers. Now, figure 13. I'm sorry, that's figure 13, page 59. Just a clerical error, just a little, but when I first read this, I was confused really. 36, yeah, it's just a small clerical error, but it will have an implication to the reader, So 36,025, it's 3,065, and this is, you're talking about the percentage. But that's just a minor correction. But my concern here actually in the discussions of presentation of the data, yeah, because I suppose you're using thematic analysis, no? Because this is a purely qualitative study, which is quite challenging, for researchers, to be able to come up with a qualitative study. So you did a good thematic analysis. You did a thematic presentation of your data, but the reason why I noted this part here, by the way, is that aside from the minor clerical error, is that Misran, can you please provide can you please provide more discussions or analysis on the data, because this is really the challenge for coming up with a purely qualitative data, especially that you make use the thematic analysis as your methodology, because we really have to support our narrative with with discussions and probably theories that you have, because although there are presentations now in chapter 4 which already has discussions, analysis, but there are other presentations which you just merely presented the data, but there are no analysis, so yeah, so kindly check on those parts of your paper, because I believe it will enhance more of your paper. And then lastly, this is again very minor, but this will have an implication on the quality of paper that you have, on the attachments, and the documentation. That's why I was wondering how many interviewees, how many key informants that you had, because in your documentation you only included 3 pictures and there are no captions. Although as part of the ethical consideration in doing research, we do not need to disclose the real name, the full name of the informants. But yeah, but it's our duty as researcher to really put captions on it so that it will not make confusions, it would be clear for the readers. Why did you include this picture? Who are they? What's the significance of this photo documentation? Yeah, so with that, may I suggest to put captions on it. You may use coding, or just simply put their designation or their position, so you don't need to disclose their full name. That is to observe ethical consideration in doing research. But again, as it's our obligation as a researcher to lay down all the information to our readers. So because we assume that our readers don't know anything about our paper, that's why we are presenting our paper, so for them to read and be informed on the topic that we are sharing to them. All right.
Yes,
So in general, I agree with Ma'am Hazel that this is a highly commendable paper, and I'm looking forward to see this to be published. And Misran, congratulations. Although you were under me for only one subject, I think 2 subjects. So I'm quite amazed on how did the time go. In my mind, it was just like last semester that you were under me, but here you are, almost on the finish line. So, Ms. Ran, congratulations and to the advisor, Professor Julie, and thank you. Keep safe, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jose. The comment and the question to Misran. I think Misran to revise to comment and the question, because Misran no busy. Last month Misran is very busy. No more analysis just because very busy. So I think after examen, Misran no busy, and he to revise form comment and question to Miss Elsie, yeah, Miss Elsie. Thank you very much, as you said, and as and now I am invite Mr. Pak Tunjung Sulaksono Prabu Mangkubuwono. Please, Pak Tunjung Prabu Mangkubuwono Sulaksono Juragan Limo Bojo Telu. Please, Pak Tunjung.
Insyaallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the opportunity that has provided by Professor Zulkodir. Thank you for give me opportunity to be the part of this team, Pak Zulkodir. Good afternoon, Dr. Hussein, and also good afternoon, Dr. Jovita. Pak Rito, are you still with us? Because I cannot see your face. Okay. All right. Okay. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, Misran, yeah, for writing such a very interesting thesis, yeah. And I think there are a lot of novelty, yeah, that could be drawn from this manuscript. Anywhere, of course, there are some lack of this manuscript, this thesis. So the input, yeah, and also the question that had been given by the examiner of this thesis examination will be the part of giving you, yeah, some input, some constructive input, yeah, for adjusting your manuscript. Okay, I have some question for you and also some input, yeah, for your manuscript. It would be better for you if you can take a note, yeah, so you don't have to what is that, ask me again, yeah, what is the revision that I want you to write. Okay, the first one is in your chapter about the PKS, yeah, in your chapter about your PKS. In what chapter, if I'm not mistaken, it is in your fourth chapter, yeah, fourth chapter, the description of the research object. Okay, I think some information had been provided clearly in that chapter. You also have give us some information about the party, the PKS, and the history of the PKS. But I think, yeah, you have to add any information about, yeah, PKS philanthropic structure and also activities, Misran. Yeah, because I cannot find any information regarding the activities and also the structure of any activities that belong to the PKS philanthropic activities. So it would be better for you to add some information about it in this fourth chapter. Okay, copy, you copy, Ms. Ran? Okay, yeah. And my second question is, you use any theoretical framework? For example, you have used what is it? Theory of particles and particles. Is it right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And could you tell me, or could you explain about what is your contribution of your research funding toward this theory? Is there any contribution that you believe, yeah, you can give to the development of this theory, Ms. Ran?
Okay, thank you for your question. For the theory on integrate political theory from Harmel and Robert Harmel and Kenneth Chanda, the first winning election, implementing party democracy, and gaining executive, and the last advocating interest. I think that we can develop that not only Prosperous Justice Party has interest, but also others party can use the political change by Robert and Robert Harmel and Kenneth Janda.
Alright. I mean, can you make a relation between your funding, yeah, your research funding, yeah?
Yeah.
I believe that you have produced a lot of research funding, yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of research finding, and could you, yeah, make a connection, make a relation between your research finding with your theory, yeah? You use the theory of party goal and party change, yes. What is your contribution, yeah? Is there any contribution, yeah, from your research funding toward the theory that you use in this undergraduate in your thesis?
Okay. Yes. Thank you for your question. The connection from my theory that I find in by interview that the first I say again that from the interview by Dr. Firido Alhamdi, the connection from the theory by Robert Hermel and Kenneth Janda, the first winning election. Say, for example, the philanthropic movement of the PKS party during the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia aims to expand its political anchor. And then Fopunka and Robert, in their theory, state that political parties need collateral organization. Okay, collateral organizations or organization of the same age, and it is function to expand the party anchor because the party directly approach the people. Indirectly, there is antipathy, then they need fears. The collateral organization is one affiliated with a second party that is not structurally affiliated but stands for like PKPU or an unaffiliated one. For example, the Integrated Islamic School Network, JSIT, on which one organization from facilitation activists, and another thing that can be seen in on campus, for example, LDK and or in school as Rohis, and their initial education when maybe the teacher is an because activism becomes a teacher. This is one example, the connection from my theory that
Yeah,
my finding.
yeah. I think that's the most what is it valuable finding, yeah, in your research, Misran. So I suggest you to put, yeah, one or two sentences about your finding into your abstract.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so there would be a selling point for you, yeah, if you can put your most valuable finding, yeah, in that abstract, because I cannot see yet, yeah, I
Yes.
cannot see yet any uh, what is it theoretical implication, yeah, that you have tell me previously. Okay, and the next one, do you believe that there is a connection between this activity, this is philanthropic activity, yeah, with the 2024 agenda? Yeah, is there any connection? Yeah, because we know that philanthropic activity is a part of humanitarian activity, but PKS is a political party. So, do you believe that what has been done by PKS by doing some activities concerning the pandemic COVID mitigation is the part of winning election in 2024?
Oh yes. Okay. Thank you for question. I think that I believe that the form or uh, the social movement by Prosperous Justice Party for winning election in in 2024 because PKS, the rising star, always gaining their movement. Say, for example, by political philanthropy, and also in my interview or my finding say that and then and also we can see the finding the matter what happens we continue to serve to so the spirit continue to be installed in the PKS cadre, and also the PKS function stroke the Indonesia comes with 3 lives of struggle among the are pro people, pro community, and pro strengthening of Indonesian nationalism. And then the spirit of struggle are to realize the vision of the PKS function leading in fighting for the interest of the people to realize an Indonesia with character, dignity, justice, and prosperity. From the finding PKS philanthropy activities have made independent preference. Yes.
Okay, that's all, Pak Juli. I think from me is enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Tunjung. Thank you very much, Pak Tunjung, with your comment and your question to Misran. Misran, I think this revise the suggestion from Pak Tunjung, ya. Misran, boleh revise from Pak Tunjung, ya. Suggestion from Pak Tunjung, Mrs. and Husin. And then I invite Pak Ridho Hamdi to comment on and question to Misran. Please, Pak Ridho.
Okay, thank you, Pak Juli, and my colleague, Dr. Juli Sumaksono, and our friends in Mindanao, Hazel and Lucy. Okay, so a lot of suggestions, comments, and critical suggestion, from all examiner, Misran. So I have two main comment,
Yes.
The first is technical issues in
Okay.
chapter 4. Maybe a lot of data and paragraph that you didn't mention the citation or the sources,
Okay.
in chapter 4, like the history, and then the percentage, like in page 51, in paragraph 2, this is related with the data, so you can mention the source and also in other pages in chapter 4, if it is related with the data or with the history, I believe that is cited from the other sources, so you need to mention to avoid the plagiarism, that is the first suggestion. Second, your thesis consists of 3 different variables. I think it is good how you can explain about philanthropic movement conducted by PKS. The second is the party platform related to philanthropy, and the last, narrative and political implications. So I already read in the conclusion, but I didn't find any mind. I didn't find the mind finding of this dissertation. I mean, these three different variable explain what phenomena.
Okay.
I mean, in the context of philanthropy, PKS use this as the strategy to enlarge its anchor not only to the mind base of the party, but also to the other public, and they have a public image that the PKS is carrying with the issue of philanthropy. So, is it? I mean, yeah, a lot of research on the PKS, yeah, as the Islamist party, that it is a pragmatic strategy. Yeah, this is a pragmatic strategy of the party how to give a positive image to publics, and then of course to receive public sympathy, and then public will give a good impression that this party is good and to be the best choice for the public. Yeah. So there is a conclusion that you mentioned in the last point, because you only in the context of party philanthropic movement, blah blah blah, and party philanthropy, blah blah blah. But these three different variables explain one phenomena. Yeah. So, if in the masuk norma formata dissertation, yeah, you didn't already read this dissertation. It is about PKS also. He said that in the modern system of elections, the extreme party, whether Islamist or secular, they will be the moderate actor of politics. Yeah, yeah. So even though that the PKS is Islamist, but they can behave a moderate actors, pragmatic actors that takes whether philanthropic issues or maybe good governance, anti-corruption as a strategy to create brand image that PKS is serving people. Yeah, and the main slogan of PKS is serving people, berkhidmat untuk rakyat. That is selling the brand that PKS is close to the people, not only Muslim communities. For one, what Harmel and Janda winning election, yeah, there is a specific explanation that these three different variables explain into one what is phenomenon. So whether Islamist or secular, all political parties is pragmatic. Yeah, they want to be the winner of the election. Yeah, I mean they will sell economy Sharia, or maybe they will sell what's the issue of what related to everything always Sharia. That is always pragmatic. Business is business, politics is politics. What is politics is politics. Politics is winning the election, gaining the position in the government, take the power and dominate all position. That's, I think, all political parties in any democratic countries want to be the winner and take all position in the government. This is only the strategy how PKS. Blah, 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 yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's my point.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Pak Ridho. Comment and suggestion to Misran. Okay, Misran, you revise it. Suggestion from Pak Ridho, Pak Tunjung, Ms. Hazel, and Ushi. And then your presentation or the thesis, I think, is better, yeah? Misran, you revise the
Yes.
conclusion and you revise
Chapter 4.
the analyze and you systematically read, straighten, and you revise it.
Chapter 4.
Yeah, chapter 4. Under chapter 4, I think there's many suggestions from Pak Tunjung, Pak Ridho, Ms. Hazel, and
Okay.
Pak Tunjung, Pak Ridho, Ms. Hazel, and David Hazel and Hussein. I think it's enough. It's exam to Misran. Okay. Thank you very much, Hazel, Hussein, Pak Tunjung, and Pak Ridho. This is, I think, the exam to Misran is enough, and thank you for all examiner in this evening. And now, on behalf of I'm the supervisor Misran. Thank you very much for all, and I hope Hazel and Usil, Pak Ridho, and Pak Tunjung to sign the Misran after sign in the Pak Ridho and Pak Tunjung, and then sign after Misran revisit. I think. Usil and Hazel, I think Misran sends.
Yeah.
Send document or send your thesis, and Hazel and Usil to see the new thesis and after revisit. That's okay, yeah? That's okay. Thank you very much all, and selamat siang and good afternoon.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations, Miss Van.
Thank you, Ma'am.
And also to the advisor, supervisor,
Yeah.
research
Okay.
supervisor.
Okay, Ma'am. Before close we can take a picture. Pak Tunjung. Ini sudah keluar.
I already took several pictures. That's how I'm proud, Miss Ran.
Halo, Pak Tunjung. Tunggu, Pak Tunjung belum masuk.
Udah, nggak apa-apa, ada gambarnya yang penting.
Oke.
Nah, langsung.
Oke, 1, 2.
1, 2, 3. Oke. Oke, Pak Tunjung, yuk. Take picture. 3, 2, 1.
Oke, tunggu. Saya, wait.
Again, once again.
Parido. Parido.
Oke. Yuk, Misran.
1, 2, 3.
Oke. One more.
Yes.
Cepat.
Tunggu, saya dulu. Oke.
One more, Misran.
Oke, 1. Oke, 1, 2, 3.
Ya.
Oke.
Thank you. Enak, Misran?
Ya.
Ya.
Ini bukan proceed by written by.
Iya, written by.
All right, permission to leave now. Congratulations.
Ya, Pak.
Written oleh